When the moving van pulled away from the narrow lane, leaving only the salty wind and the distant crash of waves, 12-year-old Callum stood in the doorway of his new home and felt smaller than ever. The coastal town of Windermere was nothing like the city he'd left behind here. The air was sharp with the scent of seaweed, the gulls cried overhead, and the streets twisted down to the harbor, where fishing boats bobbed in the gray morning light. Callum's mother, her face drawn and tired from months of silent grief, unpacked boxes with a mechanical precision, barely glancing at her son as he wandered from room to room. Since his father's sudden death, Callum had become a shadow in his own life, drifting through days that felt endless and empty. School was a blur of unfamiliar faces and whispered questions, and the house, with its creaking floors and peeling paint, felt more like a stranger than a home. But from his bedroom window, Callum could see the old lighthouse perched on the rocky headland, its white tower rising above the cliffs like a silent guardian. Something about it called to him a promise of secrets, of stories, of something solid in a world that had come undone. Each afternoon, after school, Callum would slip away from the house and make his way along the winding path to the lighthouse, his footsteps muffled by the thick grass and the roar of the sea below. The lighthouse had been abandoned for years, its door chained and its windows clouded with salt, but Callum found a loose board at the back and squeezed through, heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. Inside, the air was cool and musty, filled with the echoes of long-ago voices and the distant boom of the surf. He explored the spiral staircase, the empty lantern room, the faded maps and rusted tools left behind by keepers who had vanished into history. It was in a dusty alcove beneath the stairs that Callum found the journal, a battered notebook with a cracked leather cover, its pages filled with the looping handwriting of a boy named Thomas, who had lived in the lighthouse decades before. The first entry was dated 1947. The sea is wild tonight. Father says the light must never go out, no matter what. As Callum read, he was drawn into Thomas's world, a world of storms and shipwrecks, of loneliness and longing, of a trying to make sense of loss and change. The journal became Callum's lifeline, a bridge between his own grief and the struggles of a boy who had lived and loved and lost in the same windswept place. Each day, he read a little more, tracing Thomas's journey through the seasons, the joy of finding a stray kitten in the rocks, the terror of a storm that battered the lighthouse for 3 days, the ache of missing a father lost to the sea. Thomas wrote of his mother's sorrow, of the silence that filled their home, of the way the lighthouse became both a refuge and a prison. Sometimes, Thomas wrote, I think the sea is trying to tell me something. I listen, but I don't always understand. As Callum read, he began to see his own pain reflected in the words on the page. He started to write his own thoughts in the margins, questions, memories, hopes he was afraid to speak aloud. Slowly, the lighthouse changed from a place of shadows to a place of light. Callum shared the journal with his mother, reading passages aloud as they sat together in the kitchen, the sound of the waves filling the spaces between them. For the first time since his father's death, they talked about the past, about the future, about the ways grief can shape and change a family. The journal's final entry was a message of hope. The light is for everyone who is lost. If you're reading this, you're not alone. On the anniversary of his father's passing, Callum and his mother climbed the lighthouse together, lighting a candle in the lantern room and watching its glow stretch out across the dark water. In that moment, Callum felt the weight of his sorrow lift, replaced by a quiet strength and the knowledge that, like Thomas, he could find his way through the storm. The lighthouse, once a symbol of loneliness, became a beacon of healing, a place where the past and present met, and where a boy and his mother learned to hope again.